So hi there, welcome to lesson 3. Here we'll be looking at basic commands that help us with input. If you recall, we had what we call the journey to credible data. So if you have not watched this, please get back to module 1 where we talk about journey to credible data. I believe that is lesson 7. Please understand the foundation. There are inputs, and then there is processing, and then there are outputs. So that's how we get our credible data. We go through input, processing, and then output. So the journey starts with the input. Data has to get into Stata before we can use it for data management. So we're starting right from the beginning. Now there are a few commands that have helped us. Some of them we have started experimenting with in our last lesson, and we're going to look at them more closely in this lesson. So the first one we really want to look at is the clear command. Out of the 6 commands I want us to just focus on, please note, I've always put that caveat out, there are quite a number of them that help us for input, but this helps us to study our journey. When our feet is firm, in advanced classes we will take this in greater detail. So we have the clear command, we have the cd command, which is basically the change directory command, sysuse, which we had used in lesson 2, or use command, and then we have import, insheet, and browse. Now let's spend some time with clear. Now clear's basic objective is to remove, that's word clear, you know what it means. It's clear the atmosphere, clear the memory, so that fresh data can come in. Most of the time, that's the reason why we use the command clear. So you want to put in something new, so you need to clear the old. You want to put in maybe this data set 2, you need to clear data set 1 out of the way. So that's basically what it does. It just clears the data in the memory. And then the underscore, the option is all, because there are other info in the memory. That's a bit complicated for now, so let's just keep it simple. But there are other things you may want to clear, but basically the data set is the first thing you clear. So let's just say theoretically that Stata can only manage one data set at a time. There's only a software data set at a time. Even though right now there's technology that allows it to probably have 6 or 7 data sets in memory, but at any point in time it can basically manage one data set. Okay, that's how clear works. So clear just clears the road, allowing all the other things or all the other data set to come in with all their own unique set of package. The next one is cd, which I mentioned, change directory, and I will just dwell here a bit, drawing an analogy with rice, as it moves from container to container. Now rice is a staple food here in Africa or West Africa, and even there are food wars in quote about it. So it starts basically, and I'm talking about the non processed one, the one you buy in the supermarket. No, the ones that come from the farms, they come in bags after being processed. And when they come in bags, the next thing that really greatly happens to them is that they are, in order to prepare them for a meal, that's processing. You have to put them in a sieve, wash them, or parboil them, and then you put them in the pot where you do the main cooking, and finally it will end up in the plate. Now the rice moves from different locations and at different stages. So it's in the bag, it's in the sieve, it's in the pot, and it's in the plate. And at every stage in these locations, its state has been altered. The rice in the bag is dry, the rice in the sieve is wet, the rice in the pot is hot, and hopefully the rice in the plate is a bit cool, not steaming hot. It's cooler than what you find in the pot, because you now want to eat. Nobody eats directly from the pot. So bottom line is that it's moving from location to location. The same thing, as data is being processed from input to output, there are certain stages and levels where it will be stored. It will be stored in the bag, it will be stored in the sieve, it will be stored in the pot, and it will end up in the plate for the analyst to use. So that's how data also moves. So it's very important to understand that you need to be changing the directory. So you change directory to bag so that Stata can know that this is where I will take the raw material from. So it's like giving direction to where things are stored. And when you are done processing or sieving, I mean, you save in the sieve. And then when you're done with the sieve, you CD, change directory to port, and then change directory to plate. That's basically how it happens. So please remember this analogy because we're going to use it in the future classes and even in our practicals. So don't forget, we're just moving things around. So the syntax is also there, CD folder address. So once you know the folder address, so folder address is bag, you put CD folder address bag, CD folder address sieve, CD folder address port, and then plate. And you could also put stomach. It ends up in the stomach too. So it just keeps moving through different containers. So C's use, we have just used that in lesson 2. So it basically loads or use command. You load a file, and to do this successfully, you need to know where the folder is. But if you have used the cd command, you've already told Stata where to find it. If you said cd bag, you don't need to say go get rice from bag again. So you need the folder address to be able to use it. So sometimes cd and use are combined to be able to locate the files. So, and that's what I'm trying to emphasize here. If I use file name straight away, it means that you must have used the cd command to signify the folder address. Now, sysuse does not need a folder address. It comes with every Stata installation. If you have installed Stata today, that file we used in lesson 2, auto, you can access it yourself. So basically, that's how it works. When we do the practicals, we'll be able to see it ourselves. Okay, so then we have import. And this basically could be Excel. I didn't mention that, import Excel, and then we could import delimited, but basically we won't just use this for Excel. So the import syntax, then the folder address plus the name, and then the sheet name. So this is particularly referring to Excel. We're trying to keep it as simple as possible, and then we can now add layers of complexity once the fundamentals are understood. So similarly to once we have had CD just tells us this is where to import from, or this is where to load data from. So you don't need the folder address if you have preceded the command with CD. And if you had looked at that video where we did what do files do, it's a few videos away, you would see how that works in practical terms. So basically, that's how import Excel works, basically. Then we have InSheet, same principle, but InSheet basically are for CSV files, and I prefer them because they all come out all right, and this is just good for beginners. The actual one there should be import delimited, which is for CSV files. We had mentioned 3 different formats: Stata, Excel, and CSV. So I needed to use commands that can accommodate them. We have used browse before now. It just makes it an Excel, displays in format, and the slight variant of browse is edit, which is still the same spreadsheet, but now you are able to edit. Not really advisable to use, but it's still something that works. So we would have certain practical sessions where we talk about a certain file, use the syntax, use the folder name and address just to differentiate. In the practical session, we'll try and look at all these commands, and hopefully we should get it right. So we'll just keep it simple, very, very simple. We still have lesson 4 where we'll talk about using the main windows. Not really long lesson, but just to help us understand how these things operate. So thank you for your time. I hope this has been beneficial. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions. Please don't forget to click on the notification bell and subscribe. There are lots and lots of videos coming on this channel, and we want you to just be on the alert. We have a lot of that, and then we need your comments and feedback so that we'll know areas we need to focus on. As long as it's data management, we want to give you everything we know and share it as much as possible on this channel. Thank you so much for your time, and I'll see you in lesson 4. But before that, let's just quickly do a live practical session on Stata just to illustrate these 6 commands we have used. Thank you. God bless. Bye. So, yeah, welcome to the practical session for lesson 3. We now want to look at these few commands we had used in time past. We had just explained 6 of them. Some of them we had used even in lesson 2. So if you recollect, we have had this particular, particular group of, we have had these 3 views. We had the main window, we had the data editor, and we have the do file editor. So there is apparently data. Data editor doesn't really show like this. It means there is some data in the memory of the system. So let's take the clear command, which is very straightforward. I will type clear in the command window. That's one way of doing it. Excuse me. Another way of doing it actually is to just come also right to the do file editor and type the word clear. Now we will not use so much of the do file editor until we get to lesson 6, where we talk about what do files do. So, but I will focus majorly right now on the main window. So I type clear and I press enter. Now please, before I press enter, take a look at the variables listed here. Take a look at the data editor window, and let's see what happens when I press clear and enter. All the variables disappear. There is no data in memory. And how do you know? Go back to your spreadsheet now. Everything is plain, completely plain, gone. So what you are saying is, I'm cleaning up the house for an old tenant. In fact, that's the best analogy to use. Before a new tenant comes into a house, the old tenant has to vacate. So you have given the old data set a quick notice using the command clear, and now you are able to load a new data set. Now, incidentally, we're still going to use the same CCUs, so just to show that, or another data set. So what I have done also is I have created a folder called Stata Sage under the C drive. So I will give you those files. It's the same auto file, but in different formats. So I will want to use that command, but before I can use the command, I need to reference the file. So I'll go to my I could go to my my folder, and go straight to my PC, go to my C drive. In my C drive, this is Stata Sage. Now the 3 files are there in CSV, in Stata, and in Excel. So what do I need to do? I need to copy the address. So I tap right in here and I copy. Another way to do it, if you are using Windows, is you right click on the file. So the right click on the file and then try to search for file path. Sometimes you may not find it. In this case, I don't think it's there. Okay, no, wait just 1 minute. Just to be very sure, show more options, copy as a path. Can you see that? So there's copy as a path, Control Shift C. So you want to get the path to that file. So that's one way. So let's just do that. And I come back to Stata now and type CD with a space and paste. Now I only want the folder, not the file. I only want the folder and not the file. So I will sorry, let me remove it from our. So I will remove auto CSV from that. Now please look below here. The current default working directory is Sage documents. You can see it here. User Sage, the current one is user Sage, Stata Sage documents. That is the current one. Now, when you use the cd command, you are going to change the default command. You are now telling any command once you have this default written here by default folder, by design, Stata looks for files in there, but that's not where your files are for now. Remember, that may be the plate, but now we want to reference the bag. So cd and then the file path in inverted commas. Very straightforward. So if you have downloaded the practice file, take it straight to your C drive and unzip it, drop it there. So if you have any problems doing that, please just let us know. But I'm sure there's a video at the end of this video that may give you directions about how to download practice files. Okay, so cd, enter. Now, like I told you, it always keeps a record here. So nothing has still been loaded. Everything is still empty because all you just said is focus now on the bag of rice. In this case, focus on the bag. Now I want to pick the file. I will say use because now we know where the folder is. If you look, it says it says C Stata Sage. So that's the default folder. And I'm saying in C Data Stage, look for the file called auto.dta. That's it there. So I'll say auto.dta. Now I have cleared, so it will just load the file for me. Let's do that. So that's it. Now by default, sometimes people use auto clear, which is more popular. So what it does is that before it loads auto, it clears what is before. So it's like combining two commands into one. But in this case, clear is an option. So that's one way. And it's because we had already emphasized clear in step 11 before we used. But you can combine 11 and 13 into one line. Now, this doesn't always work for all the commands, but just to bear that in mind. So immediately you do that, you find data in the memory. Data has been loaded. And then the second way is you look at the variables. Now they're there. If you rewind back some few minutes ago, about 6 minutes ago, backwards, you would find out that this thing was empty. There was nothing there. Or even a few minutes ago, you'll find there was nothing there. So it has appeared because you have now loaded it. It's like opening a file. They don't just call it open in Stata. So that's one way. So another way is the in sheet. Now we're looking at the other one, the CSV. So in sheet using auto. That's the name of the file too. So now it says you must start with an empty data set. I like this. So I have not used the clear. I need to clear first before I use the in sheet. So you see, I have to clear empty data set. It said you must start with an empty, so it's empty data set. And now I use in sheet using auto. Now the reason why I'm able to do that is because the default CD or directory, rather working directory, is already Stata Sage. That's what I want to use, so there's no problem. Okay, so when I enter now, I need to specify that's a CSV file. So it has loaded it again here. I clear. It's empty here. You can see it's empty here, and then here is empty. And then I come back here just to show you. I can go back to the history window and pick the same thing instead of typing all over again. Come back here and enter. So that's how InSheet works. Okay, let's also use import Excel. So I can say import Excel using auto XLS. Now all this is possible because there is the file path has been adjusted to C/Stata Sage. So all the focus of Stata is on that folder. So anytime I mention anything, it tries to look for it in that folder. Okay, so once I do that, it now has what we call options. Remember command and options? So I would say first row, and I'm saying that the first row I want the headers. The first row, so yeah, sorry, first row. So you just say first row. And what it means is that the first row in Excel is actually the headers. Basically, that's how it works. So, and then you may also want to specify the sheet. So I'm coming, sorry, I need to clear again. So clear and then import. So it has imported the file for me. That's how it works. Now you could see all these red things. We're going to talk about them in a couple of lessons to come. So sometimes we have to bust into things, and I'm glad they happen this way so that you understand there are errors. And it has shown 3 times in this session. Here it said something was not found. It said data memory will be lost, and I think here, yeah, there are 3 places here: in sheet using auto, and then in sheet using auto. Like I didn't clear the first one, and I didn't clear the second one too. So basically, this is how it works, to how all the commands work. Now we have used browse before, but I'm happy to use it again. You can type BR, which is an abbreviation. Remember I think that's the 6th principle or 7th principle when we're talking about concepts of data. So remember that portion. So you can abbreviate. So BR is fine, and it gives us the view of the data editor. So that's how you use it, and you browse just to be sure that you have loaded data. So we've used Excel, we've used CSV, and we've used Stata. Those are the 3 we're going to use for the beginner class. Like I told you, there's SPSS, there's SAS. Basically the same principle. You need to show us the folder where we're going to go. And as we move, we'll tweak things a bit. So I hope this has been very useful, and I hope to see you in lesson 4. Thank you so much for your time.